Call the meeting to order. Welcome to the March 4th Marshalltown Community School District Board meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone in the audience tonight and also on delayed broadcast. I'd like to introduce to you the board members we have with us here tonight. To my left, we have Karina Hernandez, Sean Heitman, Ben Fletcher, and to my right, we have Ross Harris. At the center table, to my right, is our board secretary, Paulette Newbold. And to my left is Community Superintendent Theron Schutte. If anyone would like to speak to an agenda item or public comment tonight, there's a pink sheet on this table that you would need to sign up for. If you would like to speak, you'll be allowed 5 minutes. Iowa law prohibits discussing specific employees in the district or their job performance, and in accordance with board policy, board members may not respond to any comments in order to comply with open meeting laws. Thank you for your comments. If everybody would state the mission statement of the community school district with me. We
develop learners who have the knowledge, skills, and positive mindset to successfully pursue a meaningful future through personalized learning experiences.
And please stand as you're able to cite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any changes to the agenda tonight?
There are not.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
So moved.
Fletcher and Hernandez. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, consent agenda. We have the minutes from February 18th board meeting. Are there any changes?
There are not.
Personnel items. Anthony? Any changes to personnel? We had 2 resignations, 4 appointments, and some service contract changes. Any questions? Oh, I missed Rissing.
It's okay.
Sorry about that.
We can do it immediately after.
Okay, we'll finish this, okay. Interagency agreements and contract. We have 3 interagency agreements. Any questions? Open enrollments, 20 out, 4 in. Any questions?
And that's pretty typical to have a bigger number at this time, with March 1st being the deadline for open enrollment.
Any questions on the bills? I think you might have noticed we have continuation of more tuition expenses. Donations, we have from JBS and the UFCW, donations of $1,000 to each elementary school. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Fletcher Heitman, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. My apologies, I missed the recognitions.
We have speech coach from MHS, Mrs. Frohwein here, and she's going to introduce some all-staters, and they're going to perform for us. So we'll
do the talking bit first. Take a seat. So I have Carissa King and Eli Thiessen here. They were all-state selections for Marshalltown High School, which we haven't had for large group for as long as I've been here. So I was talking to some other previous coaches, and they were thinking it was somewhere between 10 and 15 years since we've had a large group go to All-State. So very, very proud of these two, and they are going to perform for you tonight. They work very hard, they're very diligent. And we changed choreography the day of competition, which I wasn't sure how well that was going to go, but they pulled it off and they did exceptionally well. And so they performed at districts, earning Division I ratings across the board, went to state, earned Division I ratings there, and then they got the all-state nod. So this has been a big year for us. We have quite a few people that went to districts despite of the snow and all the schedule changes and everything else. And now we have individuals, and Chris is actually a state contestant also for individual this year.
Nice. Nice.
Do you have any questions for them?
No.
How many hours do you guys think you put into this?
That's a good question.
Boy,
Chris is the taskmaster.
She was like, "Do you want to rehearse?" And I was like, "Sure." So it wasn't super organized. Maybe like, if we like,
10 to 15 hours probably,
yeah,
maybe more.
15 plus hours.
A week or total?
Oh, I'm total. I mean,
Yeah.
But you guys are both in show choir and
yes.
choir.
Assuming that each rehearsal was
2 to 3 hours.
2 to 3 hours. We'll round down to 2 hours, and we had like, it really doesn't matter. It was a lot of work though.
And it was so much fun.
Yes.
Yes.
And he actually, when we were at Allstate, I know that it's Chris's last year because she's a senior, but Eli was like, okay, next year I'm doing this, or can we look at this? Can we talk about this? And there was a table thing that he saw that was like crazy.
They did a lot of stuff. I didn't know what it was like at Allstate, and it was good.
Yeah. How exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, and we're gonna set up real quick for them to perform.
bet.
Let's move the chairs. Go that way.
Hey, rewind it that 1 second. There's 1 second. That
That
first
second is
note
very
is very important.
Ah, yes.
You're gonna love her, Reno. Her name's Hope. Hope Harcourt.
Hope Harcourt? The debutante? The one who came out on a Zeppelin? The one who chases foxes on the cover of Life?
What are you saying? She's out of my league?
Billy!
Heck, maybe you're right.
Billy...
No. I can see it now. Guys like me deliver her groceries. They don't walk her down the aisle. Besides, she's engaged to some English guy. He's an earl or something.
Billy, we've been friends forever, right?
Yeah?
Well, let me ask you something. Where's that old Crocker confidence? You think some teabag can compete with you? You think he's got one tiny fraction of your brains, your looks, your... Hat words poetic, I'm so pathetic that I always have found it best, instead of getting them off my chest, to let them rest unexpressed. I hate parading my serenading, as I'll probably miss a bar. But if this city is not too pretty, at least it'll tell you how great you are. You're the top. You're the Colosseum. You're the top of the museum. You're a melody from a symphony by Strauss. You're a Randall Bonnett, a Shakespeare sonnet. You're Mickey Mouse. You're the Tower of Pisa. You're the smile on the Mona Lisa. I'm a worthless check, a total wreck of flop. But if maybe I'm the bottom, you're the top.
Words poetic are not pathetic. On the other hand, babe, you shine, and I can feel it after every line. A thrill divine down my spine. No gifted humans like Vincent humans might think that your song is bad, but I've got a notion. I'll second the motion, and this is what I'm going to add. You're the top. You're Mahatma Gandhi. You're the top. You're Napoleon Brandy. You're the purple light of a summer
I've got a certificate of appreciation and recognition for each of you, Eli and Carissa. We're extraordinarily proud of your accomplishment. I think I've always been a history buff, and one thing that I've learned while researching not only Marshalltown but other school districts that I've been in is that in the early 1900s, like when my grandparents would have been born and alive, actually this accomplishment was revered much more than even athletic achievements in the early 1900s, and everyone that's lived in Marshalltown knows how revered the fine arts are in all respects, including speech and debate as well as music, and so we are extremely proud of what you've accomplished and look forward to what you do in the future. So
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Nice job. Can we just keep doing that the rest of the night? Can you see, is there anybody on that list? I think there is. So we have public comment. I have, is it Katie? Would you like to come up? So just in case you weren't here, if we can hear public comment, but the board asks that you keep your comments to 5 minutes, we cannot comment on your comments due to open meetings policy. So thank you very much for your comments.
Good evening again. My name is Katie Mayotte, and I live here in Marshalltown. I wanted to thank you guys for waiting for the premium information that we received this afternoon regarding the healthcare plans that are going to go into place if they get voted on and approved today. I do think the premium information was very necessary for our staff and faculty to make the decisions that are best for their families. So I appreciate your patience in getting those answers before passing the healthcare bills. I do, the information that was most interesting to me, of course, was the comparison to other school districts where we see that places around us are either equal or less than what we currently have. And in my frustration over the past few weeks, I've actually looked up multiple contracts and seen things that, like, Johnson has a $2 premium for their plans. And so I think that while that premium information was needed, I also need to caution you that the likelihood that people, especially those who commute, will leave the district is still very high based on that premium information, because not all of us can go to an HMO, or not all of us can go to a lower deductible plan based on the plans that are in place. So I encourage you to continue that equity among paras, teachers, and administrators, and in order to help the district become solvent, I encourage you not to lose the teachers that you value so much, to increase the education for our students, because right now at my school and around the district, there are those that are definitely talking of leaving based on these numbers that we received today. So I did want to make you guys aware of that, and I encourage you to look at how this will impact the district as a whole, not just monetarily, but morale and feeling cared for, because I know that one of your goals was to increase the connection with first-year teachers, and so I think some of those connections will be severed if the jumps are made in healthcare this quickly. So thank you again for your time, and I appreciate the work you've put into this.
Looks like we've got Anna Wolvers.
I also live in Marshalltown and teach in Marshalltown, and I guess I had more questions, and I'm used to city council where you guys discuss it first and then we ask questions. So I was here to get more information. And before I get into that, I want to thank you for the heads up for the delay today. So that helps parents actually prepare, and even teachers that are single and have to shovel. So the advance notice of delays or cancellations is much appreciated. I guess my questions, I'm a single person looking midway adoption process of adopting a child. So now I don't pay anything for insurance as a single person. I saw on the thing that came out today, there was like a 2-person plan, so I don't know if that's both adults or if that would count as an adult and a child. And I guess just looking at budgeting factors, how that would go from somebody that doesn't pay anything that's actually stayed in this district because it has awesome benefit plans that you can't get elsewhere, and how that would impact single budget over a long period of time. And like I said, being mid-adoption process, it may go through, it may not. I guess that's kind of would I be able to add a child mid-year to my plan? And would that count as the 2-person, or would I have to do the family thing? And I know you can't necessarily answer, but that's questions that I had looking through it.
We'll do that later on in the agenda, and hopefully your questions will be answered. If not, then you can call the business office too. And
Okay.
find out. Okay.
Thank you.
Student board reps.
Hello.
Start from the beginning. Does he have the clicker?
Can you start from the beginning, please? Okay. So we're here to talk to you about some things going on around MHS. So the first thing we want to talk about is the MVP program, which is also known as the Mentors in Violence Prevention Program, and it's led by Ms. Rink and Ms. Frowine. And mentors are juniors and seniors, and this program targets freshmen. And the mentors discuss issues such as teen pregnancy, suicide, stalking, and stereotyping. And mentoring sessions take place on Thursdays during homeroom. And the juniors and seniors, their own homeroom, they do a practice run, so it's kind of like a mock run. So they'll act like if they were freshmen, and they see some of the ideas they can incorporate when they go into the freshman homerooms on those Thursdays. And this is just the last session, the most recent one me and some other MVP members have done. So in the last session, we discussed suicide ideation, and we asked students if they felt like this was a big issue in our community, and we got some input from them. And we also talked about when to know the warning signs and what are the warning signs when you see someone possibly committing suicide. And also we talked about the risks that are involved and how social media plays a role. It can positively and negatively play a role in there. And also we give scenarios to freshmen, and we see what they would do if they were in that situation. And also mentors input their suggestions and advice and talk about how over the years they've their own experiences. So they learn about our mistakes and just try to better the outcome next time of other things, not just suicide. So another thing I felt like was really good this past week was the childcare that was offered during conferences. And Ms. Anderson presented this idea and worked with her intro to education students and others to make it happen. So this childcare program or event was offered to parents or guardians during conferences. And in the conference room at MHS, books, games, and other activities were offered to children while parents could attend their conference. And this was also a volunteer opportunity for MHA students, because you could get the silver cord hours in while also maybe gaining experience. Maybe you're interested in going into education or just a career field with little ones. And over 40 MHS students volunteered, and they each rotated on shifts. Also, the MHS qualified 19 students for the state speech competition. It had 19 students earn a Division I rating for 21 entries, and this qualified them for the state contest to be held at North Scott High School on March 9th. And Ms. Florwine said that this was the largest group they've ever had going to districts. She's so proud of all of her Bobcat speech participants. So this is just a list of the MHS students who earned Division I ratings and qualified for state. And also this is some students that earned Division II ratings.
This past Saturday, the MHS show choir competed. Okay, the MHS show choir competed this weekend in their final competition. The competition was in Emmitsburg, and they placed 3rd in the day round and 4th in the final round. Phoebe Osgood, a member of the show choir jazz band, said, "We've had a very successful year." Eli Thiessen, who just performed, received the Best Male Soloist Award and the Best Male Performer Award. Something happening in the classroom right now is Composition 2 classes are writing research papers. Comp 2 is a dual credit class taken by juniors and seniors at the high school. Mrs. Chandler and Dr. Such both teach Comp 2 classes. Mrs. Inhilder, the MHS librarian, has been partner teaching with Mrs. Chandler and Dr. Such to help teach the students how to research at a college level. And so we've been learning about citations and noodle tools and all of that. And students are writing argumentative papers, so some of the topics include whether college athletes should be paid, whether there should be stricter regulations on the use of plastic, and whether the voting age should be lowered. I spoke to you a few weeks ago about NHS running a book drive, and the book drive is over, but now the books are being delivered. So today, a group of NHS students went to Franklin Elementary School and delivered about 100 books to them. And we read to the 3rd graders, and it was a lot of fun. They each picked out their own book, and then the teachers kept the extras for their classroom. So yes, we collected 750, and our goal was 370, so it was, our goal was reached. Some upcoming events. This Friday, Hot Tamale is a musical that will be performed at the high school. So the juniors and seniors will see it in the morning, and the sophomores and freshmen will see it during the afternoon. And also, the drama department has announced its spring play dates. So Friday, March 29th and Saturday, March 30th in the MHS auditorium will be the play. It's Sherlock Holmes. Any questions?
On the mentoring program, are you, as a mentor, speaking to just 1 or 2 freshmen, or as a mentor, do you speak to the whole class? Are you assigned a class? How does that work?
Yes, in the beginning of the year, we were split into 2 to 3 members or groups that comprise of 2 to 3 people, and we each take part in that session. So we kind of we follow a presentation, and then we each present something to them, give our advice and stuff like that. Just kind of go through it, but we speak to a freshman homeroom, so it's filled with a lot of kids in there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And I don't think I introduced you guys in the beginning, so my apologies. But we have America Dominguez and Jane Ragland, their student representatives tonight. Thanks, guys. Okay, Lisa.
Good evening. So before you, you have a request to approve, the purchase of a learning management system for us to be able to use with 3 different groups in Marshalltown Community Schools. It would be license will be established for all students and staff at Marshalltown High School, as well as MLA. Additionally, 8th graders at Miller and their teachers who take courses that get high school credit would be users of this system. And the third group would be all teachers in Marshalltown schools, as we can use the same system to track and monitor learning that we do on our Mondays or any other time. So an LMS or a learning management system, there are a few different ones out in the market, and we've been studying the different ones that are available for over a year, I think. We've had a group of people coming together that includes administrators, teachers, and coaches, and CPDLs. And we've landed on Canvas as our product of choice. And I had to laugh when I was reading through the board minutes because it says top 10 reasons, but I couldn't stop. So if you go down to the bottom, I think there's actually 14. I was going to try to limit it to 10, and maybe there's some redundancy in some of them. But essentially, for most of you that work in the professional world, I'm sure your business or place of employment is also using a dashboard or learning system of some sort to educate its employees, and that's what Canvas would allow us to do. And this is also a platform that the community colleges and the higher ed institutions use, and along with it, it'll allow us to really, I'm excited, apply some of the things that we have in our mission and vision in terms of blended personalized learning. It's a big undertaking, and it's not something that we're going to be great at immediately, but I'm excited at the amount of thought and planning that's going into how can we best help teachers get this off the ground. And additionally, it has a really great functionality for parents too, so that parents can be able to see what is going on in their kids' classes. It connects pretty seamlessly with anything in the Google Suite as well as our Infinite Campus system. So before you, there's a request. We have a 3-year proposal, but this year you're only approving the purchase for year 1, which I think was $14,000 something. And that budget, the budget that is paying for that is Title IV, which is a new budget to us this year that came along with ESSA. It's one of 4 projects that we're using Title IV money for, would be the Canvas support system. Do you have any questions about what Canvas would look like or how we'd use it?
I'm familiar with Canvas a little bit through Iowa State.
Yeah.
But what I don't know is how does it overlap or not, or replace or not the stuff we've got with Infinite Campus and Google Classroom?
Right. So Infinite Campus is our student information system, and that's primarily where we keep all of our data for state reporting. It also is our system that pushes out grades and progress monitoring or progress updates to parents. So Canvas doesn't do those 2 things. So you need a student information system and you need a learning management system. So there'd be no savings. It can't replace Campus, if that makes sense. And in terms of Google Classroom, yes, a lot of our teachers use that, and they'll continue to use it at K-8 because it is a more appropriate, probably, tool for kids to use at that age, and what our teachers do in terms of utilization of technology with kids. But what a Canvas system allows, which if you took courses at Iowa State, you'll know, is it allows for that collaboration, that anytime, anywhere learning for kids. The use of audio, video. I mean, the fact that there's 37 languages available for kids to be able to see material. There's just now they've added, I don't know when it got added, but it's new to me anyway, an accessibility feature. So like all of the courses that we have, it would go through and scan to see if there are any compliance issues with accessibility for students with any disabilities. So it's just an extremely robust system that would allow us to overcome some of the clunky features that we find in Google Classroom that not only are hard for parents to understand, but are hard for the teachers. And Google Classroom doesn't automatically talk with Infinite Campus like Canvas does either.
Lisa, you said that Title IV money was new money this year. Is that something you have to apply for, or?
No, it's an allocation
work?
that we find out similar to our Title I budget or Title III budget. It's based on student enrollment and whatever funds the state has.
Is this an optional tool for a teacher, or is this will become a requirement?
This is where our curriculum and courses will be housed, right, moving forward. Obviously, not everything will get in there year one. We'd rather see high-quality stuff be put through the process. So we'll probably, like I said, in there have to go slow at first to go fast, but surely it will be our expectation that all of our courses be in Canvas over time.
Are there any more questions? May I have a motion to approve the Canvas subscription order in the amount of $14,600 for year one? The subscription would be paid out of Title IV funds.
So moved.
Second.
Harris Fletcher, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have the school calendar and weather-related update.
Yeah, so since our last meeting, which this instructional hour document was not updated from, we lost 4 additional hours due to late starts. And so currently, we've got 30 minutes of flexibility above the state minimum requirement of instructional hours. So obviously, our goal is not to be at the state minimum. We have to be above it, but it's been an extraordinarily difficult year. As I shared with you at the last meeting, what my recommendation is that we would extend the school year from the original student ending date of Tuesday, June 4th to Friday, June 7th, which would add back 3 of the 5 days lost, building in 3 additional flexibility days, since we're down to a half hour. Student contact time is gauged on hours, whereas employee or teacher time is based on contract days. So the teachers do need to make up the equivalent of 5 days, and so what we're proposing at this time is that obviously 3 of those 5 days, just as the students would be making up, would count as teacher contract days. And then there's 2 additional days that need to be made up. So what we're proposing starting tomorrow, assuming the board approves this, would be that we're extending each contract day, Monday through Thursday, by 15 minutes at the end of the day in order to capture those 2 days during the months of March, April, and May. And for district coaches or sponsors that have after-school commitments, then they would do their extra 15 minutes at the beginning of the day. And there may be some unique circumstances that some of our employees have, and what we've said with that is the buildings have the autonomy to work with those individuals, the building principals, and figure that out in terms of what's in everyone's best interest. But we do want the time, for the most part, to be at the end of the day to extend the opportunity for whether it be meeting time or conferencing time or what have. So that is the recommendation. Once approved, we also will need to be looking at the circumstances for our paraprofessionals. We haven't addressed that yet. They too are contracted by days, but extending days or time of days for them is not, in our opinion, a meaningful thing, because their greatest value is when kids are in school. So we're taking a look at the possibility of providing some additional professional development that wasn't scheduled for them. We've got 2 full professional development days, one of which they're not scheduled to be at, so we may look at that for March 25th, and then we need to have some further discussion in terms of how that second day would be made up. In the event that I absolutely don't want to put students or parents in a position of their children needing to be in school beyond Friday, June 7th, so I'd like to believe that with those 3 additional flexibility days, from adding those days back, we hopefully will be safe, but in the event that we have further polar vortex or whatever going on, we'll look for some other creative ways to try to make up that time. And with the teachers, we, in the past, have had occasions where we've had 2 teacher days beyond the last student day. I could see us, if we need to, going to Tuesday, June 11th, but I absolutely don't want to go any further into the summer for them than that. So, we would look at we have talked about some other creative ways that we could potentially make up time if we had to, if we have more than one more snow day. But for the teachers, the hours really don't matter. It's the days.
So you need a motion to extend the student calendar to Friday, June 7th, and extend the teacher workday by 15 minutes? Is that?
Yeah, the last teacher day will be Monday, June 10th, and then also to approve the extension for March, April, and May of 15 minutes a day.
All right.
Monday through Thursday.
I would move to make that change.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Pletcher, Heitman, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 5-0. Okay, let's see, we have Rex Kozak up next.
Well, thank you for letting me come back and ask for permission to buy some buses. As we continue to look at our fleet, we're looking at trying to get 15 years of age on those buses, and where we can get good return back on them. And we have some buses that are hitting that 15. This year, we're looking at trading in 4 buses, so reducing our fleet overall by 1. Because we have reduced routes and we don't need that extra bus, so we would like to trade in 4 and pick up 3. We're looking at doing gas buses because gas and diesel cost-wise are not a whole lot of difference, and it would balance our fleet out. So if we have a Volar thing again, we're a little bit better shape. This year, the guys did a great job, our mechanics, having everything ready to go, except we had just a couple buses that wouldn't start, but we were getting them going, so we're in good shape. But balancing that out a little bit better, we had I told Dr. Schutte we had a backup plan. If they all didn't start, we could a way to get us all there. Yeah, with a little bit of staggered time, we were ready to go with some unique ways to do that. So that's why we're asking for 3 gas buses, 2 77-passenger, and the 1 35-passenger to reduce one of our small buses. So we're looking at a total cost of $233,572, which is down a little bit from a year ago that we spent when we got the buses a year ago. And we're recommending HBC here in town, just for the price, 1, 2, just the overall convenience of service for some things that need to be done. They're right just down the road from us, so that helps us out a lot.
Which bucket funds these?
Couple.
So, Rex, best estimate, do you think this is what we should just plan every year going forward, is rolling?
Right now, that's what, that's the way it looks best right now. As we continue to look at our routes, we may be able to reduce that to 2 type of thing and get rid of another bus as we continue to improve how we're doing the pickups, deliveries, and what we're doing. We're in a study right now of how we could do our routes better, and I'll have a better feel in probably about another month of what that's going to look like. But I would plan on 3, the way it's set up right now.
3 a year.
Yep, 3 a year.
Any other questions? May I have a motion to approve purchasing 2 77-passenger gas buses and a 35-passenger gas bus from Hoagland Bus Company in the amount of $241,380 as presented?
It's actually $233.
$233.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Correction on the motion, yeah, $233.72.
So moved.
Harris Hernandez. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. And on a side note, we're getting closer to having all our buses routes filled. We got 2 getting licensed probably this week, and then we got 1 that's just starting, so we're getting closer.
Great work on those.
I'm looking now in the aisles for monitors, so if you guys know anybody, let them know. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that, I didn't catch that, okay. Let's see, next up, we have Josh, I believe, copiers. Request for an RFP.
Good evening. Tonight, I would like to request approval to publish an RFP for a copy lease agreement. Currently, our 3-year copy lease is going to be expiring July 1st with Advanced Systems. We do have a couple options for renewal with them, but I think it's in the best interest of the district because we are going to be looking at some significant changes to the lease to go out for an RFP. Currently, the district pays approximately $244,000 for the total of that 3-year lease agreement. We have 42 district copiers with black and white functionality throughout the district. Per month, we get about 785,000 copies. If we do happen to go over that allotted amount, we're charged a fraction of a % per copy. With the publication of a new RFP, some of the goals would be to support color printing. That has been something that I've heard requests for multiple times since I started with the district, to have the capability of these large multifunction copiers, the capability of color printing. Chromebook printing has also been another big thing, with staff and students having access to a Chromebook. Being able to print from a Chromebook is certainly going to be important. The way that you can do that is by getting some better print software. One that I'm kind of looking at specifically is called Print Audit, and that would allow for support of the Chromebook printing as well as some better auditing tools. Additionally, we would be looking at reducing potentially the total number of copiers. I think there's some ways that we can distribute the existing copiers, maybe get a couple of them out of here. Reduce the total number of items printed, reduce the number of laser printers throughout the district. We do have a lot of smaller laser printers that were specifically purchased for color purposes because the copiers do not support that. And we also have a goal of eliminating inkjet printers throughout the district. It is very costly to print on an inkjet printer versus a copier or a laser printer.
How many companies do you think will bid on this, Josh?
I would guess 7.
7?
Yeah.
Okay, I won't hold you to that.
All right, yeah, don't hold me to that, but I could say at least 3 for sure.
Can we leverage, if you went to MCC and said, hey, we're going to run a bid on copying, do you want to go in on this with us and increase our volume? Would that be more attractive? Could we do that? And if you could, is there a possibility that, can we do any kind of partnership with the state universities on their contracts? 2 questions I should have emailed you before, so you don't have to answer them now, but I'm just.
Well, on the spot, I guess my initial thoughts about that, getting our contract expiration dates at the same time to coordinate with MCC might be semi-problematic. I honestly don't know when their copier agreement expires. When we look at some kind of collective purchasing agreements, the AEA often does that for software and hardware. You can look to them. I'm not aware of them having any kind of printing options for that. They actually supply their own printing services, which sometimes we get from them. Certainly something I can look into.
Could you?
Yeah,
I just don't know if
I
there's
can do that.
leverageable opportunities to save a little bit of money.
Josh, does the lease cover the entire district?
All the educational buildings through the district, we do have copiers, so it would cover all those buildings.
And then if you add Chromebooks, will your number of copies go up?
Well, and that's something we're hopefully trying to tame, so to speak, with the print auditing software, allowing principals the flexibility to assign certain departments. Say the math department has 50,000 copies this semester. They would get a little bit more granularity over that. Right now, we do not have a print auditing software, and basically, at the end of every year, we go around and count the copies off of the physical printer, and then that's submitted to Advance to determine if we go over our allotted amount. So with the auditing software, I'm looking to be able to do a lot more with that.
Okay.
How do we do right now? You said we allotted 785,000 per month. I don't need the numbers, but do we normally go over that, or we normally stay under that?
We have not gone over it. Currently, I have some estimates total up to this point. The highest being the high school is currently at about 125.
All right.
Or no, 1.25 million copies since the beginning of the school year.
All right. Cool.
Any other questions? If
Hard to
not,
imagine that stack of paper.
A lot of paper.
may I have a motion to approve the publication of an RFP as presented?
So moved. Second.
Fletcher, Whitman, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. And then Josh, you're up next for our E-rates.
We're going to see if I can do this.
But you're going to check with MCC before we publish?
Yes, I
RFP,
will.
right?
I'll make contact with them, see when their lease expires, and see if we can leverage anything there.
Thanks.
All right. Topic number 2 is a continuation of the December meeting where we discussed E-rate slightly, and the 27 edge switches and the 4 core switches. So we received bids February 11th, and I'll be discussing here the bid tally of what we received. So for the 27 edge switches, we received 6 bids. We were specifically looking for HP switches. That is currently what the district uses for their edge switching. One of the benefits that we enjoy of using HP switches over something like Cisco at the edge of our network is it does not require an annual licensing or maintenance fee. So this is a one-time cost on these switches. We're recommending the company's Second Gear with the HP Aruba brand switches for an amount of $47,000. The estimated cost after E-rate would be about $10,000. The second RFP that was published was for 4 core switches. We received 3 bids on that. One of them bidding HP switches, which we reviewed. They are not as powerful as we might need them for our current network, and they also are not compatible with a lot of the Cisco routing that we do. So we are recommending Heartland Business Systems for the 4 core switches at a cost of approximately $36,000, about $7,000 after our E-rate discount. They provided installation services as well. Our network security administrator does leverage consultation services, which we find very valuable to use their expertise when setting up some of these larger and more security intense equipment. So that was a valuable service.
Why do you think the giant difference between the edge switching offerings, just the amount of cost? Are those different products, or are they?
Some of the ones offered by AT&T and Aruba weren't the exact model specifications. Some of them, they're just higher priced, honestly. With a company name of second gear, I did call and verify that these are in fact brand new, 100% full warranty switches. That was certainly something that we did not want to get a refurbished product when the other companies were bidding new products. But I have been guaranteed that those are new switches.
Okay.
Any other questions? May I have a motion to award the Heartland Business Systems for the bid for 4 core switches and the second gear for 27 edge switches as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Fletcher Harris, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Budget guarantee, Paula?
And I think Josh is going to run the show from there.
Okay.
So tonight, we just wanted to spend a few minutes talking about the Budget Guarantee Program. And you might ask, what is the Budget Guarantee Program? So this, you can go forward. This might be a concept that you haven't heard about in a while, because the last time that our district was on the budget guarantee was 8 years ago. You recall a lot of talk at this time of year regarding new money and the increase in supplemental state aid and such. But what the budget guarantee does for districts such as ours that experience declining enrollment is provides kind of a one-year cushion for districts to right-size or figure out that budgetary impact, and provides us with a little bit, provides that full new money amount that we would expect. So in October, each year in October, we count, every school district counts their students. On October 1st of this year, our enrollment was down by 93 kids. School funding is primarily driven by the number of kids that we serve and the per pupil cost, which for this year was just about $6,800. So if you take 93 kids times $6,800, that will obviously leave you with a significant loss of funding exceeding $640,000. So this mechanism is triggered.
Hey, Paulette.
Yeah.
Can you use your microphone? Thanks.
This mechanism is triggered by the school funding formula to assist districts with that. The reason we're talking about it tonight is that it does require board approval through a board resolution, as there is a property tax impact of this program. I think back one, maybe. There we go. So this is an example of how the budget guarantee is calculated. What the program does, it provides 101% of a district's budget in times when you're experiencing declining enrollment. So this October, we had a budget enrollment of 5,365 students. We also have the early gift this year of knowing what supplemental state aid increase is for next year, which was set at 2.06%. So that will give us a per pupil cost for next year of $6,911. When you do that math, our regular program district cost for next year, based on enrollment alone, would be just over $37 million. Because we're experiencing declining enrollment, we want to then go back and compare that number to what the number would be if we take what we're getting this year, which is just under $37 million, times 101%. Obviously, that 101%, that $37.3 million is larger than the $37 million, so we now would qualify for the budget adjustment. That difference of $259,177 is the budget guarantee amount that comes to the district through a property tax. The next slide will show just what the property tax relationship is. When we talk about allowable growth and increases in supplemental state aid, you can see in this chart we have some different options of supplemental state aid increases down the left-hand side. And as you can see, when we do that math, the calculation that we just did in the previous slide, when we do that for all of these different increases in supplemental state aid, that gives us a different budget guarantee number. So we landed on 2.06%, or the legislature landed on 2.06%. So you can see there that that budget guarantee amount is $259,177, which will equate to about a 24-cent property tax impact. Now, the other thing that we like to point out in this slide is that, there's a lot of talk about increases in supplemental state aid. The legislature gives that to all school districts, but it's important to remember that not all school districts get that increase. For example, in our case, while we have a 2.06% increase in supplemental state aid, our new money is only 1%. It would have taken an increase of 2.79% in supplemental state aid for our district to not be on the budget guarantee and not have that property tax impact from declining enrollment. And then, as you can see, I like to throw in the last line, the 4% increase in supplemental state aid, which we used to get a few years ago. But at 4%, our district, because of declining enrollment and the way the math works, we would have had a new money increase of 2.19%, not the 4%. Also, there's an impact of being on the budget guarantee for consecutive years, so we hope that that doesn't happen, but there is further impact from that. The next slide is just to show you that we are not alone. Out of 330 school districts, 35% will be on the budget guarantee next year. This equals almost a $10 million impact on local property taxes across the state. And then this is just a slide to show you that when we talk about that new money, the new money that we saw on the previous slide of $369,643, that new money is the change in the regular program district cost from one year to another. So this year, for fiscal 20, since we will be on the budget guarantee, about 70% of that new money is coming to us through that budget guarantee program. If we do not have that budget guarantee program, then our new money would be $110,466. The next slide is just a really big map of our state, which shows you, I think the visual is kind of neat. The reds and the yellows, those equate to 50% of districts in the state that will have 1% or less in new money next year. So we aren't alone. The blue circle is around us. The green districts, those are where they're experiencing growth in enrollment, and so their new money is considerably more.
I think it's important to note that each of the last 2 years, we actually experienced growth within the district, and significant growth. A year ago, though it's impossible to totally know, we really believe that a large part of this decline this year was due to the tornado. And as we tracked where these people went that ended the year with us and weren't with us at the beginning, They're all over the country as well as some out of country and all over the state. It isn't like they just went next door or something. We also, for those residents that did remain, there was a lot of movement within the community as a result of that too. And we saw that within our enrollment study that RSP did for us. So the good news, in spite of all of this, is that our enrollment projection, as the board has seen going forward, with some uncertainty due to tornado recovery, is relatively stable. And our ability in many ways to get back on track with that positive growth is going to probably be in line with the ability for housing to be available. And between houses being repaired to the point of livability or new housing being created will largely impact that. And so the pace for which that happens will lend itself to whether we might grow more than what's currently being projected, which is to stay relatively stable for the next 5 or so years.
So at the March 18th board meeting, we will be coming to you and presenting a proposed budget, of which this will be one small piece. So you can look forward to that, and I can certainly answer any questions you might have on the budget guarantee.
Was there an action you needed tonight on this, or is it?
We do have to have an approved board resolution that we have to submit to the Department of Management by April 15th. So it does not have to be done tonight. It can be done at the next meeting also.
I mean, I think we need to pass this resolution, so I'll move to approve it. It's attached to that item if you wanted to see it.
Are there any other questions before we move on with the motion? It's a lot of information. Do you have any more questions, Roz? All right, so we have a motion to approve the insurance resolution recommendation as presented for fiscal year 19 and 20. Do I have a second?
Wait, sorry, I think you read the wrong one.
Doing the budget guarantee.
Oh. Am I? Oh, sorry about that. Budget guarantee resolution, yeah, that's right. So we have a motion for the budget guarantee resolution. Fletcher, do I have a second?
Second.
Bateman, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Next up, we have the insurance recommendation. We'll have a presentation.
There, start.
Okay.
So for the second consecutive meeting, we're here to talk to the board about our health insurance plan, and we have a proposal that we'd like the board to take action on based on the work that we've been doing since last fall, quite honestly. We invoke the services of Mark Becker and Associates, and Mark is here in case there's any specific questions that he can help answer in order to provide the board and district administration with some guidance as it related to the fiscal stability of our existing plan. We knew that there was some right sizing to be done. We didn't know going in to what degree that needed to occur based on the fact that we hadn't invoked consultants and were relying strictly on Wellmark's direct recommendations, which were only a part of the picture for the total health plan for which we choose to operate as a self-funded plan for the Marshalltown Community School District. So when we worked with the board in a work session in early December, There were a number of parameters that were established that we've talked about. And at the end of the day, I think it's safe to say that our ultimate goal was to do the most good for the most people, the most employees, by fulfilling these parameters to the best of our ability, because we knew there were some, in some cases, gross inequities. We knew that we needed to provide equity in terms of the plan offerings across the different employee categories. We needed to make sure that all of our employees that were eligible for insurance were offered affordable plans, just like everybody else, because there were different rates being paid by different people, different employee groups for the same coverage. So we needed equality as far as that went as well. And so, as was mentioned by one of our public speakers, we knew that the premium plan offering that we've had and that our employees had for many, many years was, as Mark indicated, probably is the best plan that was available within the state. And the problem is the way that it was structured with rates is a plan that you couldn't get on the market today and probably haven't been able to get for a long, long time. But because we were self-funded, we were able to still offer it. And then the other problem that coincided with it was that we were not able to, or had chosen, I guess, not to agree to adjust rates in accordance with what Wellmark was recommending over the course of a number of years. And so our plans, in many cases, got very upside down in terms of the claim loss versus the revenues coming into the self-funded insurance plan. So as we evaluated plans and a variety of different options to offer plans, the one thing that we fell upon was that two of our three plans, one being the HMO and the other being the standard PPO, were very close to the norm and of the state, both in the public sector as well as the private sector offerings and amongst education. And so we felt it was important to stay with consistency as it related to those two plan offerings, knowing that there was a likelihood we would not be able to continue offering that premium plan. To Katie's point, we are very cognizant of wanting to be able to offer a better than average and an inviting, competitive insurance plan. We believe that within the plans that we're offering, although they're discrepant from what had been there previously, that we're still going to be able to do that. We also realize that 25% of our employees, which mirrors the community employment demographic, commute from outside of town, and there's no guarantees when that happens, whether it's due to insurance or other reasons, that those people are going to stay under our employment. That being said, I think some of our employees that are adamant that they're going to go elsewhere may find out that maybe Marshalltown and what Marshalltown offers isn't as bad as what is being portrayed when they go evaluate what's happening within other districts in terms of their insurance. And when we compare our plan currently, or our plan options that we're offering to our employees, we're comparing what we're planning on offering next year to what's being offered this year in those other districts. So we don't know that there could be changes because healthcare costs continue to escalate, claims continue to escalate for most districts. Ours may look even better than the way that we've projected it in comparison, depending on what winds up happening with the other districts next year. We very much want to not only, we want a plan design that's going to incent good consumer behavior, and that's part of what has driven the decisions regarding the prescription drugs, which we have talked about year after year, but not made any movement on, where there's so little difference in what you charge for drugs that why would you care, whether it's generic, brand name, et cetera, as a consumer. But I think the most important point here is that we all recognize, and we had a meeting with some union leadership and Health Insurance Committee members on Friday, we all realize that there's a desperate need for the district to do a better job of educating all of our employees relative to health care going forward, whether it is the plans and the things they have available to them within the plan, the tools that they have available to them, and just to help them understand what it means and to be a good consumer and how to discriminate when discrimination can take place in terms of what's being recommended for you to do. So the flex spending account, which we've had available for a number of years and is very little utilized by our employees in totality, is something that we definitely need to educate people on because it's a way to save money as well. We need to make sure that our plans are solvent. You know, if your claims and revenues are upside down, obviously we've been significantly eating away at the reserves that we have. We know that our reserves are underfunded. We're solvent and we're fiscally strong essentially today, but if we continue down the path that we have been going, we're basically on kind of a death spiral with the way the claims and the revenues have gone the last 4 out of the last 5 years, as Paulette may illustrate once again. And ultimately, we want to get things under control with our healthcare costs so that we don't experience significant increases in costs from year to year. We've talked about the equity. We also believe that it's important that that our plans be in line with other plans and not be so rich that we're creating an adverse selection in terms of encouraging, for example, spouses who have credible insurance through their own employer to come on our plan just because it's so rich versus taking advantage of their employer's plan. So that's another thing that we've been thinking about. Though to some these changes seem dramatic, really we're looking at them as incremental changes because they are significant in terms of being different from what we've offered in the past, but you know, a lot of our projections are based on where we feel people will likely land in terms of which plans and where the risk's at and that sort of thing. And so that's one of the main reasons that it's extraordinarily important to have a consultant like Mark Becker tied in with us so that we can be analyzing that plan throughout the year and what's happening with it throughout the year. And it's more than just the well-mark end. There's other pieces, as our finance director has illustrated, that go into the costing of making sure that a plan is solvent. And unfortunately, all of the focus in the past has been on the well-marked rates, which is a significant part of it, but not all of it. The board was adamant as well that they wanted to curb the increased cost to the district to the fullest extent possible and to, again, be in the norm as it relates to cost sharing between district and employees. So those are the parameters that we've had to work with, and I think what Paulette will be doing through the rest of the presentation will be sharing what's been really asked for by a lot of our employees over the course of the last month or two, and, you know, well, what does this mean to me? What does this mean to me personally with the two options that are going to be made available? And she's going to be able to illustrate that fairly clearly. The thing that I'm excited about, and keep in mind that everybody's impacted by this. It isn't just one employee group, the teachers. People are going to be impacted differently. We've had certain plans that were grossly underpriced, and we had certain plans that were overpriced in order to compensate for that. So there's going to be some equity within the plans built in that way. There was a comment about employee plus one, which Paulette will address, which was rated as employee plus one, but treated as basically single parent family, no matter how many people were on the plan, which flipped that cost. I think that one of the first things that's going to be extraordinarily important is for employees to know what plan they're currently on. And they've always had access to that through the Wellmark website. And so one of the things that we'll be doing is making sure that people know how, once again, to get into that website, take a look at their plan and the provisions with the plan. And so that once they know that, they can take a look at these charts and at least get a pretty good idea of what the potential impact's going to be. I think some people will find, particularly those that are generally healthy, that this plan structure is actually going to put more money in their pocket, in their paycheck, than what they've otherwise had. And even in some cases, worst case scenario, it's going to be better than where they were before in terms of money in their paycheck. But there'll be some other people that will be impacted with it costing more. And those are the people that have benefited for the most part for a large number of years by their rates being underpriced. So with that, I will turn it to you.
All right. And I'm going to invite Mark up to join me because he's going to help me with this next slide here. I think it's very important for our board and our employees and our community to understand, how the health insurance rates are established for a self-funded group. So this chart here will show you for our 3 different plans that we currently have, what the Wellmark suggested rates have been and what our actual rates have been. And you can see for example, the rates being charged have been less than suggested by Wellmark, particularly for the family premiums. And those are indicated in those numbers there. For instance, the fiscal 19 family under the premium PPO plan, Wellmark had a suggested rate of $2,154. The rate we're currently charging is $1,796. But I think what I would ask Mark to help me explain here is how those insurance rates, those suggested insurance rates that Wellmark gives us do not include our reserving, our other fees, things like that.
Correct, yeah. Thank you. It's good to be with you again. By way of Paulette's comment, let me just explain that in a self-insured environment, like you are in today, in essence, you are the insurance company. I am looking at the insurance company backing the medical benefit plan here at Marshalltown Community School District. You hire an administrator to administer your benefit plan, the plan you have managed, selected, maintained, and that company happens to be Wellmark. They are the hired administrator. You haven't hired them as a fully insured insurance company. So they execute your plan and pay claims on behalf of your people. Because the district doesn't want to bear unlimited exposure for all claims, then it's common for self-insured plans to buy reinsurance protection when they are self-insured. And there are many reinsurance companies throughout the United States. You happen to hire Wellmark as your reinsurer. So they are both your administrator and your reinsurer. As part of that reinsurance contract that they issue to the district, they have to set thresholds for where the level of risk is on which they would protect you if something really went wrong. And to do that, they create estimated rates. They use the term suggested rates, and I wish they wouldn't do that because the industry uses the term estimated rates and maximum rates. So the notion that Wellmark has been suggesting rates to you for your plan is grossly incorrect. Reinsurance companies don't set plan pricing. They set the reinsurance rates for where the thresholds of risk are transferred. The district in the past has used those rates as a benchmark and marked off of them, but they're always too low. You would never want to use reinsurance rates as the basis of costing and budgeting your full medical plan because it only represents a small portion of it. It doesn't include reserves. It doesn't include federal fees. It doesn't include state fees. It doesn't include other costs that are unique to your plan that you have. So when we encountered the fact that Wellmark's reinsurance rates had been used as the basis, and the district had pulled off of those even more, we kind of suspected we'd see some problems. And that's what's happened. The other thing, if I could just speak to briefly, is that I want you to know, and I want those listening to know, and I kind of got this sense from some other discussions that maybe there was this sense that rates were delayed or rates weren't being forthright delivered. I just want you to know that is not true. The only body, the only entity that can set rates is right in front of me. The district is the plan administrator. And at the end of the day, the rates that are set on your plan legally is your role as the plan fiduciary. It is not Wellmark's. You have hired us this year to come along beside you and help you set those rates. So as we've been working through the fall to try to narrow the scope of what you would want us to help you accomplish with your guiding parameters, we got down to the point trying to figure out what direction would they want to go, and then it's just a quick calculation of what the rates are. After the board, after you requested that of us, I think the last time I was here, I think Paulette, with your input, we put that together in about 5 days, 6 days. So rates can always be calculated for you, by you, with whomever you want to help you at any time. Does that make sense? It's not like a grocery store where you walk in and the products are all on the shelf and the price tags are all laid out. In fully insured plans, that's the case, but not on self-insured plans. On self-insured plans, the plan fiduciary ultimately sets the rates. And mistakenly, the reinsurance estimates have been used as the basis for setting rates. Does that explain? Does that make sense? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So on this slide, what we wanted to kind of point out here was, while we're comparing our actual rates to Wellmark's suggested rates, as Mark just stated very eloquently, even those rates are too low. So approximately 46% of the contracts in our group are covering 3 or more individuals. And as you can see by the yellow highlighted cells on that chart, our family premiums, or our family rates that are being charged this year are, between 80 and 85% of what was even suggested, knowing that that's too low too. So there's been a discount on the family rates. The next slide, and information has been shared on an annual basis showing this same trend for 12-month periods. This slide actually happens to just be for a period of July through January of each fiscal year, so 7 months. We went back 5 years, and what this is showing is that 4 out of the 5 years shown, our net claim costs have exceeded our premium deposits. If we focus on the current year, this is even more unsettling because our current year net claim cost has increased 7.8% over the prior year on a 2.6% increase in premium deposits. So obviously, the trend that we are on is not sustainable.
Why do you only look at it as July through January versus a full 12 months?
I was just looking at what has happened so far this year.
Fiscal.
So you're just trying to compare year on year based on a
Yes.
partial year?
Yes, yep. Because we know that our claim costs are up this year, so we wanted to look at that compared to where they had been at this point in time in previous years. So the health insurance recommendation that we have aligned with the board guiding parameters is as follows. The district offers single coverage for all employees qualifying under the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act uses a 30-hour average to be considered full-time, so between that and I think the district had previously adopted the look-back measurement period or method, that would be the recommendation, is to offer single coverage for all employees that would comply with the Affordable Care Act. Secondly, to provide the same single benefit for all employees regardless of classification. As you may recall, right now we have 6 or 7 different classifications, and everybody is paying kind of a different amount for the same coverage. Employees who currently carry family coverage continue to receive a district contribution towards family premiums that would be phased out over the next 5 years. And then effective 7/1/2019, new employees and current employees enrolling for the first time begin receiving a defined contribution in the amount of the single standard coverage cost. So basically, we would be recommending that your current employees are grandfathered in order to help phase out that family contribution over the next 5 years, rather than just eliminating it entirely right now. But then new employees would come in under the new system. When I talk about family premiums or the family contribution, what I mean for certified staff right now, for the current year, the district will pay $635 towards a single plan, but then if an employee chooses the family plan, then the district puts in another $324 per month. So that $324 is what we're talking about phasing out over the next 5 years in smaller increments. Based on our work with Mark and looking at alternate 3A1, which we've talked about previously, the recommended rates are in the chart as follows. This would be a 3% increase on each of the plan. The remaining plans would be the standard PPO and the HMO. But as you know, as Mark has shared, this is an ongoing process. This is something that we'll have to look at and reevaluate each and every year when we have that opportunity to readjust rates as necessary.
So I guess I missed this when I was reviewing this earlier. What's the 3% increase so that?
The 3% increase is off the current monthly premiums for those plans. So right now, for the standard single PPO plan, which we currently offer,
Yep.
that monthly premium is $567. So next year, the recommended rate for that same plan would be $584.05, a $204 a year increase. So the 3% increase is off of current rates. So these rates were developed with a total budget target of about $7.6 million, which includes claim estimates, reserving, reinsurance, administrative costs, all those things that fees, all those things that Mark was previously speaking about that we maybe weren't taking into consideration in the past. So once these rates are established to produce the budget target, then we can move forward with the premium cost sharing, which would be the next step. So this chart would show you the recommended premium cost sharing for each of these plans with our budget target of that $7.6 million. The recommendation is to provide a single policy, single coverage for every employee at no cost. The difference between the single standard and the single HMO is $12 a month right now. You know, that could change in the future as plan design changes also, but right now it would be, the offer would be either one of those policies. And then for the standard family and the HMO family, you can see right now on the employer rate, there's a $900 in there. Currently, what the certified staff gets per month is $959. So that would be a reduction of $59. And then we're just backing right into the employee rates there based on the total monthly premium, what the employer would contribute, and then leaves the employee rates for the two-person or the family policies. The box below that would be the structure for new employees or new enrollees onto the plan. There would be a defined contribution by the district for every person of $584, which is the standard single coverage. So the next slide, we wanted to show you some best worst case scenarios for the out-of-pocket maximums. And this is just on the medical side only. Currently, 54% of the district's contracts are single contracts. And so if we look at the top example there, this would be for certified employees. If someone is currently taking the premium PPO single plan, they have $69 a month withheld from their paycheck, or $828 annually is what they pay for the premium. They would then have a $100 out-of-pocket maximum for a total maximum medical cost there of $928 for the year. If that individual chose to move over to the HMO single, they would no longer have anything withheld from their paycheck. So they would have $828 more available to them in their paycheck, which they could defer to a flex spending account to cover that additional $900 out-of-pocket maximum, should they need it. If this is a healthy individual and they don't have any medical expenses or very little medical expenses, they could, best case scenario, come out $828 better off than they would have otherwise. Worst case scenario, it would cost them, for the medical out-of-pocket maximum, another $72 per year. That's for a certified employee moving from the PPO, from the premium PPO to the HMO. So the next example is somebody moving from the current premium PPO single to the standard PPO single. Again, they're going to have $828 that isn't taken out of their paycheck anymore to potentially meet an increased out-of-pocket maximum of $1,900. Best case scenario, they come out $828 ahead. Worst case scenario, it costs $1,072 for the year. Third example is somebody that is currently on our standard PPO single, and the proposed standard PPO single, there's no change. And then the last example, if somebody is currently on our HMO single and to go to the proposed HMO single, they currently don't pay anything in premiums for that. They would not pay anything for premiums for for that plan, but the out-of-pocket maximum would change from $500 to $1,000. So if they have medical expenses, it could potentially cost them $500 more for the year. If they don't have any medical expenses, then they break even. The next slide we're going to look at is the 46% family contracts that we currently have in our group. For a certified employee that is currently paying for the PPO premium family plan, they have $837 taken out of their paycheck per month for that plan. So they pay an annual premium of $10,044 to potentially meet an out-of-pocket maximum of $200 for a maximum medical out-of-pocket cost of $10,000, or maximum cost $10,244. If those individuals choose to migrate to the family HMO plan, their premium that they would be asked to contribute would be $625 a month, so $212 less. So over the course of the year, they would have $2,544 less taken out of their paychecks. That money would hopefully be deferred into a flex spending account if we know we have huge medical expenses to cover that increased out-of-pocket maximum of $1,800. If this is a healthy family that doesn't really go to the doctor very much or have many expenses, their best case scenario is they're going to have $2,500 in their pockets that they wouldn't otherwise have had. Worst case scenario, if they do meet that $2,000 out-of-pocket maximum, is they still have $744 more in their pockets because they didn't pay that sunk cost of the premium. The next example is the current premium PPO family moving to the proposed standard family. That move will cost an increased premium amount of $180 per year with a potential out-of-pocket maximum liability of an additional $3,800. So best case scenario there is a cost of $180, worst case $3,980. Those that are currently on the standard family, moving to or not moving anywhere, staying on the standard family, because the family the family rates were being discounted, their additional cost in premiums will be $1,320 per year, but their out-of-pocket maximum will not change. And then finally, the HMO family that chooses to stay on the HMO family, their additional premium would be $1,236 with a potential additional $1,000 in out-of-pocket max. So best case cost of $1,200, worst case cost of $2,200. The next slide we want to talk about, and I'll probably have Mark jump in here a little bit and help, the employee children tier. This third tier was added to the district's standard plan, or the standard plan, which includes the third tier, was added to the district's plan for the first time in fiscal 18. This has created some challenges because it's effectively provided family coverage for 12% of the family cost to the employee. We did not define this as a two-person tier at the time, although the suggested rates from Wellmark were for a two-person tier. What is happening here is that 70% of the employees that are currently on this coverage, and they currently pay $91 a month in premium, for the same family out-of-pocket max of the $4,000, and we have 70% of these are covering from 3 to 6 individuals on this plan. So obviously, the $91 compared to paying for a family plan of $742 is a much better deal. And one of the probably unintended consequences here in our district is that we have several spouses that both work for the district. And so if you have both spouses working for the district and you have children, one person can easily take a single plan and not pay for it, and the other person can take the employee plus children and pay $91 a month for family coverage. So one of the things that we are looking to fix with our recommendation is to change that employee children tier to a 2-person tier. And that 2-person tier can either be employee plus spouse or employee plus 1 child. We aren't defining what the plus 1 is. We also have 13% of our employees that are paying for family coverage, paying those family premiums, that only have 2 people that they're covering. So those individuals can move to the 2-person tier. Do you have anything you'd like to add there on that?
No, just a couple of quick observations. Years ago, it was common to divide tiers up by family status. Maybe you're single, by yourself, you have a large family, maybe you're a single parent with 1 child, maybe you're an employee with just 1 spouse. And employers would divide up the tiering based on your family size and relationship. Oh, you have children, but you have 1 spouse, you're single. And I think the industry is getting away from that because of the difficulty in the discrimination aspects of it. You know, if you're the single mom with 7 kids, should you have to pay more or less than he does just to have his wife covered? And there's this dilemma of equity and fairness. So what the industry has migrated to is just number of people. You're a household of 1, you're a household of 2, and you're a household of 3 or more, and keep it that simple. I will tell you in future years, should we be fortunate enough to be retained with you, we will always encourage you to think about reverting back to single and family. Because if the Cadillac tax is passed, and it has passed, it just keeps getting kicked down the road, the use of 2 tiers or 3 tiers or 4 tiers where you're trying to give a discount to one size of household forces you to charge more for another household. Not that that's wrong or right, fair or unfair, but what it does is it decompresses the rates, and the family rates usually are 3 to 4 times higher than single. If you can get back to single and family, there'll be about a 2.5% ratio, and it will allow you a better chance of staying under the thresholds for the Affordable Care Act Cadillac tax, and that's a 40% as excise tax we want you to be able to avoid should it finally come in to being. Does that make sense? Okay.
So the next slide shows that 13% of employees that I was previously spoke to that are paying for family coverage and are only covering 2 individuals. If they are currently paying for the premium PPO family, their maximum cost per year was $10,244. By moving to the proposed 2-person tier, their monthly premium would be reduced by $352, $4,224 per year, to cover that additional out-of-pocket maximum of $3,800. $4,800 potentially. So best case scenario, $4,224. Worst case scenario, $424 a head. If they move from the HMO family to the two-person tier, their premium savings per month will be less. It will be $444 a year, which would be their best case scenario. If they had no out-of-pocket maximums to meet, if they do meet that $4,000 out-of-pocket maximum, their worst case scenario would be a cost of $2,556. And then the final, that middle one is comparing what the current rates are for the HMO family, but the bottom example is comparing what the proposed HMO family rates will be next year. So if we compare the proposed rate of $625 to $485, then their best case scenario is $1,680, with a worst case scenario of $320. This slide will show you what happens with the employee children. If somebody is currently on the employee children plan and paying $91 per month, and they truly are just covering two persons, which is about 30% of the people on that plan, their increased premiums will be $394 per month, or $4,728 a year. Their out-of-pocket maximums will not change. Second situation is for that employee plus children. If they are part of that 70% that is covering a family, moving to the HMO family is going to cost an additional $6,408 in premiums per year. And if they make that same jump to the standard PPO family, they will have to pay, they would go from paying $91 a month for a $4,000 out-of-pocket maximum to paying $852 a month for the same $4,000 out-of-pocket maximum.
How many people do you think this one impacts? Is this the 12%?
Employee plus children, if I can see the picture right, we have about 55 contracts that are employee plus children.
And I forget what percentage of those, I would argue we're misenrolled somewhat, so it's not everyone.
Yes, 70%.
Yeah, 70%.
70% of those are covering 3 or more individuals. 30% of them are covering 2. The next slide, we did spend a whole lot of time reaching out to other districts and looking at their plan designs, which includes not only their deductibles and what they pay towards their premiums themselves, but we looked at perhaps the most important metric, the out-of-pocket maximum. And so in this chart, which is probably really hard for you guys to see, our proposed changes for Marshalltown would be for the single out-of-pocket maximum for the HMO to be $1,000 and $2,000 for the PPO. Out of the 49 plans that we received information on from other districts, 7 of those have out-of-pocket maximums that are less than $1,000. 8 are right at $1,000, and 34 are greater than $1,000. The next slide is the same thing for the family out-of-pocket maximums. You can see where we line up with 49 other district plans from neighbors and some of the metro area schools.
Do you have that same breakdown of number that are less than 1,000, number like you have
I
for
do
singles?
not. So I think the last slide, we just wanted to reiterate that we will be working closely with Mark and his team on helping to educate all of our staff regarding their options and different tools that are available to help them in making these decisions. What questions do you have of myself or Mark?
One clarification, just to make sure we're on the same page, but the deltas you provided previously on those family plans, that's based on the FY20 grandfathered in rates?
Yes.
Those will adjust in the out years and for new employees. Okay.
How about the prescription changes? We're talking mostly here just about monthly premium and out-of-pocket.
Right, so the only thing, actually, the out-of-pocket maximums for RX on the premium plan will still be the same, and they're the same as the HMO plan also. So both of our plans will have the same out-of-pocket maximums for RX, which is $3,000, $6,000.
And the effective date for changes?
Our plan year starts on July 1,
Be July 1.
2019.
Well, I'd say thank you, Paulette. This was pretty thorough, and I think provided the information that we and some of the input we've gotten have asked for. So thank you for that, and Mark for your help with it.
Thank you.
So is the education and training for all of the employees, is it intended to be a one-on-one opportunities, or are they group sessions? Have you thought about that? I don't know who covers that cost and how it's done, but are we there yet on kind of understanding what we're going to do?
Typically, we would start off with group meetings. However, they need to be scheduled, realizing that with educators, it's hard to pull people out of classrooms. So there are some dates. I think the administration is looking to see if we could meet. We certainly will avail ourselves to help out. We've often done before school, after school, during lunch breaks. We like to do them in group meetings because we can get the most done. But we're also looking at some other options. We've talked to Paulette and Theron about maybe doing some quick vignettes, videos that we could set out on your website that would just provide general instruction to help people who maybe can't attend the meetings or if they need one-on-one. There's a lot of materials that Wellmark makes available for education pieces. So our view, it's kind of a shotgun approach. We'll do group meetings, individual focus, different lines and types of communication over the coming months and years, really, or year, to try to help employees understand how to get the most use out of their benefits.
Does that training then include the FSA?
Yes. Yeah, we would be talking, generally, we would not only talk about medical, but we would include all of the benefits that you've assigned us to work with the district on. Yeah, it's a lot to usually cram in an hour.
Yeah.
So in the the grandfathered rates for the family plans, that will apply to people currently in a family plan? So anybody who moves to a family plan in future years would get the new employee family rate? Correct? Okay.
On your slide where you have the recommended premium cost sharing, we show the total cost at 7.6. And then we have this 69 and a half, 30 and a half.
Yes.
How does that compare when we?
The employer cost, one of the board's guiding parameters, was to be budget neutral for the district. So we are currently right in that $5.3 million range. This would be a budget neutral.
So this was presented recently at either an insurance or a finance committee discussed there?
Yeah.
Was there any comments or feedback? Highlights or discussion from that?
Yeah, I was just thinking, one of the questions was, what will be the annual rate increase for the premiums? But we don't really know because there's going to be a lot, most likely, of movement within the plan. And so next year, we'll have to reassess the entire plan based on the facts and figures that come in through this next year. So it'd be nice to say it's going to go up by X amount of dollars every year, but we can't do that.
Don't know it, yeah.
And that's the case currently, right? I mean, we evaluate rates every year.
Correct.
Just the next year was a bit probably more uncertain than past years. Yeah.
The other unknown is, this will provide more affordable coverage for some of our classifications, and we have no way of knowing who will come on our insurance.
Or how it will affect family plans, where maybe there's a spouse situation where they're on our plan, but they may decide to go on to another plan. So this is probably the most complex year, at least from my vantage point, as to what will actually happen.
When does open enrollment start for benefits?
We can,
You're flexible there.
yeah, we can kind of control that.
We see a lot of schools, oftentimes April, trying to finish up early May. You want to get it done before people head out for the summer and have ample time. So generally in that late March, April, May timeframe, just depending on what other obligations the district has. So it's something you can set as an administration.
Do we need to open it, expand it to give people more time to understand? Is that something we need to look at?
That will certainly be something we look at, yes.
And then remember also that on here, we're only using certified employees in the example.
Right.
So, you remember the tiers that we had at the last meeting where there were 7 different categories? They're all different, so each would apply differently into these charts.
As an example of that, a paraeducator right now is paying $250 a month for a single plan, would now be paying $0 for a single plan. So that's a fairly significant savings for a paraeducator.
And hopefully will help with recruitment of paraeducators.
And retention.
Yep.
Are there any other questions for Mark or Paulette or Theron, actually? good?
I'm good.
Are you ready to approve it? May I have a motion then to approve the insurance recommendation as presented?
Yeah, I'll move for approval.
Second.
Fletcher, Heitman, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mark.
Paula. Tough.
Yeah, tough one. All right, we are on to policies.
So the first policy, formerly 204.1 or 10, which now has a new number, 213.R1 on public participation in board meetings regulation. We have not made any changes to that, so we'd recommend the board approve as amended.
May I have a motion to approve policy number 204.1, the new 213.R1, public participation in board meetings regulation?
So moved.
Second.
Heitman, Harris, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 5-0. First reading policies.
312.3E1, as you remember, because we had not fully updated this as of some changes that were made 2 years ago. We've amended that appropriately, and so I would recommend the board approve that and waive the second reading.
Can we group any of these?
Well, that one I think is kind of a standalone.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve 312.3-E1?
So moved. And waive the second reading.
Waive the second reading, sorry.
Second.
Heitman, Fletcher, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
We do have a series of new policies that were reviewed. There were ISB policies that we either didn't have or to replace existing policies. New policy 400, new policy 40, that was on roll and game principles for employees. 411.4, classified employee licensing certification. Actually, that one let's hold off on. I think that's one. 508.1, class or student group gifts. Another new policy, 712, technology and data security. And the regulation to that, 712R1, security requirements of third-party vendors regulation. These were all new policies that were reviewed last week. No adjustments were made to those. I would recommend the board approve those new policies and waive the second reading.
Any questions? May I have a motion to adopt new policy 400, new policy 508.1, new policy 712, and new regulation 712R1, and waive the second reading?
Moved.
Second.
Is that Fletcher, Heitman? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
411.4 was reviewed for you at the last meeting. We had intended for that to be approved, but there's been some question asked, so I'd prefer we table that at this time and bring it back to you at another time.
Payroll deductions? You
Yeah,
have that one?
706.2 payroll deductions. On that, we wanted to adopt the IASB policy and mark that as amended. We have not made any changes since review, so I'd recommend we approve that.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve policy number 706.2 and waive the second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Harris Fletcher, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Ross, you got a couple left? Do you still have a couple left?
Yeah, we, get caught up here. Let's see, that would be,
704.4 and 704.5.
so 704.4, we made modifications to satisfy the ISB, and those are captured there, so this just mirrors what ISB offers on 704.4 and 704.5. Both are the same.
Okay, so do you recommend that we adopt the motion and waive the second reading?
Correct.
May I have a motion to adopt 704.4 and 704.5?
These are revisions, right?
Say again?
These are revisions or adoptions?
Revisions.
Yeah. Sorry, revisions.
Oh. But we've seen them
Yeah,
once, right?
we essentially were striking our language and adopting ISB.
Right, that's all we're doing.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Do we need to bring these back then?
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were saying adopt, I thought you were saying they were new policies, not,
Oh.
I misunderstood the language, sorry. My bad.
These haven't been changed from when Ross spoke.
No.
Right.
Last.
Okay.
So may I have a motion to adopt the new ISB policy on 704.4 and 704.5 and waive the second reading?
So moved.
Second. Fletcher Hernandez. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Just used to B's cadence, so I got confused.
What?
Used to B's cadence, I got confused.
Yeah, okay, so then the last, let's see, I think that's it there.
Once we got to review.
Those are all the reasons, we just have initial review policies now. So Sean, do you want to start? You've got 5?
I have
704.5.
704.5 is recommended to be deleted.
That information's contained in another policy or regulations.
Yeah.
705.3 is also recommended to be deleted, and then there's a new 705.3 that is the IASB suggested or sample policy that's recommended to be adopted in its place.
Yeah, they are two different policies, but 705.3 is, our existing one is antiquated. It doesn't necessarily reflect current practice, and it probably belongs in employee handbook or business procedures handbook versus board policy.
Okay, so those will need to come back.
Yep.
And then there's 705.3R.
The old probably want the deletion, right? Or are we bringing those back?
I thought we were going to bring it back.
That's fine, yep.
Yeah, and then 705.3R, there are a couple of changes at the end of that policy that have to do with reimbursements. What will or will not be reimbursed.
Historically, for business travel relative to whether, no matter who it is for the district has taken a position of not reimbursing sales tax, which they can't by law, but we also have not reimbursed any form of tipping, so that's always fallen upon employees. And given the fact that it's kind of a standard expectation if you're at a restaurant to tip, what we're going to propose to do is to set a maximum standard at a minimal level, like 15%, which is in line with how the state auditors, for example, reimburse their people. So that'll be a benefit in that, we'll now start reimbursing for that when that occurs, once we get these policies approved.
So that one needs to come back.
Yep. And then the other one, I think, was 705.4, it's another deletion.
Which is also recommended to be deleted.
Okay. So that will come back. Okay, Theron, you got.
Yeah, so 405.2, licensed employee qualifications, recruitment, and selection, we simply added a sentence from ISB, so that will come back. And then the following policies are all ISB recommended adjustments that we've been holding off on until this year's contract expires. So due to the collective bargaining bill, many of these things are not any longer relevant, where it basically in the last statement of all these policies, it basically says refer to the master contract, which those things are going to be moved to the employee handbook per our board directive. So those will come back, but essentially it just strikes what was kind of standard language at the very end of the policy, saying if there's any questions, refer to the employee or to the master contract.
So all of those will come back, 405.2, 405.5, 405.6, 7, 8, and 406.3 with a new number at 408.1.
Correct.
Okay, so all those will come back. Okay. That does it for policies then. Oh, Andrew, no communications. See, Theron, do you have any legislative updates? Just a little bit today.
Yeah, so probably the biggest thing as of late is that the legislature has been looking at possibly increasing the funding for ELL. I think the total dollar amount, originally it was statewide to the degree of about $30 million, but I think that there's just kind of common knowledge right now, and at least one, if not both parties, if it's over 10, it won't get considered. So there was an amendment to an existing bill that reduced the funding to under that $10 million threshold, but it still would be significant dollars for our district if it were to go through and provide some equity in funding for us as well. So it sounds like it got out of committee anyway, which means it will survive this first funnel, and then we'll just have to see. And I know Janelle and I both advocated on behalf of the district with Senator Edler, and I had spoken with him on a couple occasions about it before. So that's probably the biggest thing that we've been keeping an eye on right now. And of course, SAVE, is extremely important for us for school infrastructure as well, but I haven't heard much on it yet this week.
Okay, thank you. For reminders, we have a SIAC meeting tomorrow. I think the other one was canceled due to, hopefully.
That could just be a stamp you put on everything, right?
Yeah. Let's hope not, because we only have 30 minutes left. And then we have a finance meeting kind of tentatively scheduled on the 13th, depending on schedules. Are there any other ones?
If it's not on the board calendar, we'll get it on there and be publicizing it more broadly soon, but we're looking at the dedication ceremony for the Allie Morrison Wrestling Training Room and the grand opening and open house for Roundhouse Phase 2 to be on Saturday, March 30th from 5 o'clock p.m. to 6:30 p.m. So we'll make sure Gabby gets that on the board calendar if it isn't there already.
Okay. Committee reports. We have a Roundhouse progress report.
We're nearing substantial completion as it relates to Ball's team's definition of substantial completion here prior to spring break. There are a significant number of punch list items that we'll be actually going through with them to see what remedies we're made on the lower level this week, and then we'll likely be in a position within the next week or two to create hopefully a punch list item for the upper level. I'm feeling really good about where that project will be by the time of the open house. There's a lot of small details with graphics and stuff that need to get finished up and little things, but it's really looking good. They've got most of the equipment hung in both the upper level and lower level, and I think a lot of the stuff right now, they're wanting the subcontractors to be in a position to come back at one time and get it done. So, some of the stuff is like, well, why isn't that being done? Well, a lot of them are traveling from Des Moines and other places, and so they're wanting to be in a position to get everything done that's under their contract at the same time. So, but it's looking really good.
Nice. Let's see, we've had a couple finance meetings and internal communications, and a lot of the discussion was the insurance. Well, is there anything else you have on that? Finance, or it's basically what you heard today. And then, was anybody able to go to the PLC?
The math one recently.
At the high school.
High school, yeah, I attended that. It was interesting, it was good to see how that group works. So, yeah, they were planning for how they were going to, I don't know if I'll be able to get the terminology right, but basically how they were going to give quality feedback to certain sets of students and how they were going to, the methods they were going to use, and then I think they were also talking about how they were going to go about measuring if it worked. So, yeah, it was good.
Nice. Anybody else go?
And I think we have an upcoming one for Miller where we're going to
Yeah, that just went on. Yeah.
Gavin Althouse's room
It's the 27th, maybe? Wednesday, 27th.
for, to see the new app creator course.
Yep. Okay. Anything else for future meetings? What have we done for kids today?
I'll be interested to see that learning management system brought online, what impact that is.
It sounds complicated, but it sounds really great. Great experience for kids to have that online. Pretty sure at most colleges and community colleges and universities now, they have some sort of online class requirement.
Gave them 2 days of school off.
Has the state ever, the weather been so bad for so long that the state came back and waived that?
Yeah, Iowa doesn't have the authority to do that. There are some surrounding states. Iowa does not have the authority to do
They don't give
that.
themselves the authority to do that?
But there are surrounding states that haven't. A law like Illinois, for example, has a law that anything beyond 5 days is forgiven. So they'll make up 5 days, and then anything beyond that, they don't have to worry about. So there's probably other states that have provisions or that under emergency circumstances have the power or authority, but Iowa does not have that. So there
Do they
was.
have to be granted that from somebody else, or do they just decide themselves?
They would have to write a new law.
Okay. Anything else?
About new school buses?
You did buy some buses?
New buses, yeah.
Technology improvements, potential for copier improvements.
I liked our presentation. I really just wanted it to go on the rest of the meeting. I thought that was great. They did a wonderful job. Okay, the next meeting is March 18th, and Miller will be presenting. I did talk to Bee this week. She's moving along slowly. It's still a little bit rough. So in Bee's honor, my quote for tonight is by Hal Borland, an American author from 1900 to 1978. No winter lasts forever. No spring skips its turn. I think that applies to a lot of things tonight. So, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Fletcher Hernandez, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 5-0. Thank you, everybody.